Hi, RushRecap here. Today I am going to explain a movie called Alien Hunters. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. In 1947, in the arid desert of New Mexico, a radio operator picked up a bizarre signal that caused his dog to go wild with barking. Puzzled, the operator connected more equipment, but he couldn't decode the strange noise. Desperate for answers, he contacted another station, only to be told the signal was originating from Roswell. Without hesitation, he grabbed his dog and radio equipment and set off in his truck, heading toward the source. As he drove, the truck began to fail, and the dog leaped out, barking furiously. The operator followed his dog until he stumbled upon an area engulfed in flames, with something peculiar burning at its center. Panic overtook him as he heard a strange noise and saw a bright light in the sky. Fast forward to Antarctica in 2003, a team of scientists detected something unusual buried 5 meters beneath the ice using a scanner. Unsure of what they were dealing with, they decided to send the object to a NASA research station for further analysis. Meanwhile, at the University of California, Julian, a cryptology professor, was teaching his class while a flirtatious student attempted to distract him. Ignoring her, he continued with his lecture, but the student persisted by sending him an inappropriate email. Unfazed, Julian shut his laptop and carried on. After class, he met with Dr. Bachman, who had received a satellite image of the strange object found in Antarctica. Initially thought to be a fossilized whale, they soon realized it was emitting an odd radio signal. Bachman handed Julian a CD with a recording of the signal, asking him to study it closely. Hours later, Julian was consumed by the mysterious signal. It was unlike anything he had ever encountered, as it contained discernible patterns and pulse groups, proving it wasn't random. When he ran it through special software, he was astounded to find that the frequency of the signal was much stronger than any signal on Earth. Excited by the discovery, Julian rushed to Bachman, convincing him to secure a spot for him in the ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, across the globe in a research lab on the Falkland Islands, 2 more scientists stumbled upon the strange signal. Unable to make sense of it, they sent the data to an observatory in Arizona. There, another team of scientists found that the signal had amplified and promptly forwarded it to NASA. A few days later, Julian found himself on a turbulent flight to Antarctica. The plane rocked violently as it approached the base amidst a fierce storm, the pilots struggling to land due to poor visibility. Luckily, the bright lights of the base guided the plane to a safe landing. Once inside, Julian was greeted by Nyla, who gave him a tour and introduced him to Dr. Garrick, the head of the research team. Julian was then taken to see the mysterious object, still encased in ice, which was slowly melting at an unusual rate. Garrick and Julian speculated that the object might be extraterrestrial. As Julian touched the ice, a mysterious energy coursed through his arm, flooding his mind with recent memories. His hand turned red, and at that moment, he was interrupted by Dr. Kate, his ex, who warned him to behave as this project was important to her. That night, Julian had a vivid dream about something glowing inside the ice. He awoke to a strange noise and, upon investigating, saw a shadowy figure and a trail of water. Following the trail, he suddenly had visions of the universe, the New Mexico incident, and strange creatures. Unsure whether it was a dream or reality, Julian woke up again in a daze. The next morning, Nyla showed Julian their experiment on genetically engineered food, which allowed them to grow corn in the frigid environment of Antarctica. The temperature in the cornfield was so warm that the team worked in light clothing. Jealousy stirred in Julian as he noticed Kate getting along well with Straub, another scientist on the team. Back in the United States, a government agent and the Secretary of Defense were reviewing Julian's and Bachman's profiles. They discovered that Julian had once been involved in a scandal with a student, who happened to be Kate, resulting in his temporary departure from teaching to work for NASA. As they analyzed the signal NASA shared with them, they realized it was identical to the one from the Roswell incident in 1947. At the base, Julian immersed himself in his research, struggling to make sense of the signal. He was joined by Grisham, the communications officer, who shared how he first discovered the signal coming from the ice. During a break, they went to the mess hall, where Julian met the rest of the crew. A heated debate ensued, with some mocking Julian's belief in extraterrestrial life while others supported his theories. Soon after, the crew experienced a communication blackout, which was common during storms. Julian checked on the object and was astonished at how much the ice had melted, revealing more of the object's structure. Nyla mentioned she could feel a subtle impulse in her joints, and out of curiosity, she tried to touch the ice. Julian stopped her, warning that the signal had changed, now consisting of 2 or more separate frequencies. Unable to connect to the satellite, Julian persuaded Grisham to help him set up an antenna, allowing him to continue analyzing the signal. The next morning, the entire building shook, and the mysterious object fell from its hangars. The crew rushed to inspect it and, for the first time, saw the object clearly. When Kate touched it, she was shocked by an electrical current, leading the team to theorize that the object was a meteorite made of igneous rock. Julian speculated that it might be a black box from an alien craft, sending a signal for rescue. After running some calculations, Julian partially decoded the message. Though they couldn't fully understand it, he was confident that the object was trying to communicate. During a break, the team discussed whether to open the object. Kate expressed concern about releasing potentially dangerous pathogens, but Straub argued that their labs were sealed and safe. The team agreed to open it in the morning. Meanwhile, Bachmann was summoned to the White House to deliver some alarming news. Although contact with the base was still impossible due to the storm, the government had already allied with a Russian submarine equipped with nuclear warheads, heading toward Antarctica. The next day, the team connected the object to their equipment, neutralizing its electrical shocks. They used a saw to cut through the object, uncovering a softer layer beneath the hard exterior. Upon further inspection, they discovered it was composed of a carbon alloy exposed to extreme heat. As Julian continued analyzing the signal, he realized the object was trying to communicate. After some trial and error, he finally translated part of the message: "Do not open." Panicked, Julian and Nyla rushed to the maintenance bay, but it was too late. The object had released a glowing energy that caused the saw operator to scream in agony before his body began to melt. The ensuing explosion injured several crew members and destroyed much of the room, bringing down the base's power. After locating flashlights, the group returned to the bay to check on their colleagues. Sadly, the saw operator had died, his body burned beyond recognition. Upon examining the object, they found strange organic parts beneath the surface. Pilot Tony poked the membrane with a broom handle, which caused it to burn away, revealing a frozen alien inside. Nyla suddenly fell ill, her nose bleeding before her face began to melt. Soon, more crew members experienced the same horrifying symptoms. Realizing they had unleashed a deadly virus, the survivors locked themselves in a sealed room, watching the alien through security cameras. Grisham tried to contact someone for help, but the communications system remained down. As the group argued about what to do next, they noticed the alien had opened its eyes. Moments later, it vanished from the bay. The survivors decided to search for the alien, arming themselves with guns. They combed through the maintenance bay using only their flashlights, but the alien was elusive, following them from the shadows. Julian eventually encountered the creature, which appeared frightened. Lowering his flashlight, Julian spoke gently, attempting to show the alien he meant no harm. The alien slowly approached, touching Julian's head and sharing an energy that gave him stunning visions of the universe. Just then, Straub and Tony arrived, and Tony fired his gun at the alien. An energy beam burst from the alien's wound, knocking Tony and Grisham to the ground before the alien disintegrated. Back at the White House, officials finally managed to contact the base. Julian assured them that the virus had not left the facility. Bachmann informed them that the alien was immune to the pathogen, which had already wiped out life on Mars. Although Julian confirmed the alien was dead, the Secretary of Defense insisted on destroying the base to prevent the virus from escaping. Julian, reading between the lines, realized they had only 3 hours before the Russian submarine would launch nuclear warheads at the base. Panic set in as Straub suggested leaving on the plane, despite the storm. Julian reminded him that they might still be infected, and escaping would spread the virus. Straub, however, believed that if they were truly infected, they would already be dead. The scientists conducted blood tests, but Julian warned that the virus might be too small to detect. Straub took this as a cue to leave, with Tony supporting him. When Kate refused to back him up, Straub lashed out, attempting to attack her, but Julian intervened, knocking him out with a punch. Anticipating that Straub and Tony would try to leave regardless, the survivors changed the lock codes to prevent unauthorized access to the plane. As the submarine approached, ready to fire its nukes, Julian and Kate finished securing the last lock, seeking comfort in each other's presence. But their peace was short-lived as the lights flickered back on. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the maintenance bay, and the group realized something was terribly wrong. Julian and Kate rushed to investigate, finding that the alien's body had vanished again, leaving only a trail of melting ice in its place. As the group debated what to do next, Grisham received a garbled message from the Russian submarine, warning them that they were preparing to launch the nukes unless the team confirmed the virus had been contained. Desperate, Julian tried to explain the situation, but the storm continued to block most communications. Meanwhile, Straub had regained consciousness and was furious. Ignoring the group's warnings, he and Tony attempted to access the plane, triggering an alarm that alerted the rest of the team. Kate and Nyla rushed to the hangar, arriving just in time to stop Straub from boarding. A violent struggle ensued, with Straub shouting that they were all doomed if they didn't leave immediately. In the chaos, Tony grabbed a wrench and swung it wildly, hitting Nyla and knocking her to the ground. Distracted by Nyla's injury, Kate hesitated just long enough for Straub to make a run for the plane. Julian arrived moments later, helping Kate restrain Tony as Straub started the engine. The sound of the plane's propellers roared to life, but before Straub could take off, the ice beneath the hangar cracked violently, sending shockwaves through the facility. A massive fissure opened up, and the plane teetered dangerously before falling into the abyss below. The base was now compromised, its foundation crumbling, and the survivors were running out of time. With the clock ticking down, Julian worked frantically to find a way to disable the submarine's nuclear launch remotely. Using his knowledge of cryptology, he attempted to hack into the sub's communication system, but the signal was too weak. As Julian worked, Kate, Grisham, and Nyla barricaded the remaining doors to buy them more time. Tensions were high, and every creak of the building seemed to herald imminent disaster. In the final moments before the launch, Julian had a breakthrough. He deciphered a portion of the alien signal, realizing it contained coordinates to a hidden device within the base that could neutralize the pathogen. Racing against the clock, Julian and Kate followed the coordinates to an abandoned section of the facility. There, they uncovered a strange, ancient-looking machine, likely of extraterrestrial origin, encased in ice. Activating it, they triggered a wave of energy that pulsed through the base, neutralizing the virus in their bloodstreams. Just as the submarine prepared to launch its missiles, Julian managed to send out a clear signal confirming the virus had been neutralized. The launch was aborted at the last second, and the Russian submarine stood down. Relief washed over the team, but their celebration was short-lived as the alien machine began to power up again, this time emitting a low hum that resonated through the base. Julian realized the alien's signal hadn't just been a warning, it had been a beacon. As the machine's hum grew louder, the sky above Antarctica darkened. A massive object, hidden within the storm clouds, slowly descended toward the base. The team watched in awe and fear as an enormous alien spacecraft emerged, hovering just above the icy landscape. The base shook violently as the alien craft sent out beams of light, scanning the facility. Julian, Kate, and the others braced themselves for what was to come, uncertain whether the arrival of the ship would bring salvation, or their ultimate doom. And so, the enigma of the signal from Antarctica was finally understood, and humanity stood on the brink of a new era. What began as a simple scientific expedition ended in a moment of unprecedented contact, an encounter that proved we were never truly alone. Julian, Kate, and the survivors would carry the weight of this knowledge, knowing the truth was out there, waiting to be uncovered. But in the shadows, powerful forces were already moving, ready to conceal what had been discovered. For those who dared to look beyond, the stars would hold even more mysteries, and perhaps more dangers, than ever before. The question remained, were we ready for what might come next? Thank you for watching this thrilling journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more captivating content. Stay curious, and remember, the truth is always out there waiting to be found.